Welcome everyone to another episode of LanceScurvX, LanceScurvX.com. I am very relaxed right now, and I wanted to do something before I went to bed. This is not going to be something long. I was a bit too lazy to show my face, so we're going to do it this way. I wanted to speak about common courtesy, proper manners, respect, and proper etiquette. I mean, I can go on long with that as far as the title's concerned, but we just don't seem to have that anymore in today's world. And I was just wondering, like, why? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up for the sound check. I don't see many people in right now, but that's okay. I just want to put that work out there and just chit chat for a little bit. But yes, I'm noticing in today's world how it's a lot different than the way it was before. And it can cause really disastrous results with so-called friendships, relationships, partnerships, work relationships, etc., etc. Anytime that you're dealing with someone on some level, there should be a level of respect and an expected way that we know they should act. Now, when you know somebody for a long time, yeah, you can cut corners because you know them and you're relaxed with them. But when you really don't know someone, why is it that the common courtesies and the proper manners are just going out of the window? We step on people's toes and we get angry when they correct us. Because I know, and this is not just an old thing, like Scurv, you're getting old, man. That's stuff from back in the day. You know how today's world is. Well, no, I know how certain worlds are and certain mindsets sets are, but it doesn't mean that you have to carry on like a beast, like a hog, like a sloth, like a pig. There's certain respects that should be given. And some people didn't have the upbringing, but that's still no excuse. Because if you navigate amongst a certain level of people who know how to carry themselves in a decent manner, then you pick up on it real quick. But we have many people out here who are just straight up brutes and they don't want to know. The low level worlds they come from dictates how they act, but they feel the rest of the world should carry on that way because they don't know any better. But those of us who know better should not submit to the ways of the ignorant. And some people just don't care. Some people will have their way with you no matter what. Rules? Manners? Oh no. I want this or I want this out of you or that out of you. And it's going to be that way. No. You have to correct people and allow or make them deal with you the way you're comfortable, how they communicate with you, how they move with you. You know, let me tell you something. I don't know whether it's social media. Yes, it is. I do believe so. It has a lot to do with it. But are parents teaching their kids how to have proper manners? And this has been going on. So a lot of these children from a few decades ago that grew up to be in their 20s and 30s, they just don't know. Ignorance has been going on for a very long time. And there's no excuse for it because you lose out on opportunities in life. And simple things, common courtesy. If you're around somebody and you have the urge to sneeze, cover your mouth. Put your face in the inside corner of your elbow or move away and still cover your mouth. Why do people sneeze out in the open like they assume that other people want their germs? Common courtesy. Welcome on in, Sister Queen Diane. Thank you so much for being here. This is not going to be long, but it might be. I don't know. Yeah, but what's up with that? How intrusive that is. What's the other thing? People respect the truth. Thank you for being here, brother. Thank you so much. This is a last minute thing I threw together. I'm actually on my phone. So I wanted to get one more in. But you have people that will call you. They'll call you on the phone. No problem. But why do they call you on the phone on a video call? What if you are naked? What if you don't want to be seen? That's your decision. Agree on that before you make that call. How are people so intrusive that they're going to video call you without you agreeing to it? You see what I mean? To me, that's straight nosy. And I'm very open, I'm very transparent, but don't dictate to me how I move because I don't do that to other people. And some people just don't care. So what if I called you late at night? And some people do that, right? I understand why it happens to me because I'm way out here in Ghana. I'm dead. And I don't mind that. Me personally, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I may not pick up all the time, but I don't mind it because I put my number out there to be accessible. So I don't expect, it's kind of fun for me because it's easier for me to go back to bed, but I may not be long-winded. But some people don't care. They will ring your phone. You might be a woman laying up with your man, and they're going to call you and expect you to stop whatever it is you're doing or not doing. That's your business, and have a long conversation with them. Even when you let them know, listen, I'm not going to stay long. I get off in a few minutes. And they keep on talking. They keep on talking. They keep on talking. Or they know that you're going to sleep, or they know that you're doing something on your phone, or you're doing something important, and they're sending you all of these videos. Like they're the only person that you have to talk to. You might be doing something on a business level, and you tell them this, and all you do is bring, 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 and they'll tell you the next day, I sent you all these things to look at, and you didn't look at them. Well, duh, you might have something important to do or something else to do, but people just don't seem to understand that. What happened to respect? What happened to common courtesy? What happened to thinking about the next person's situation? A lot of things don't bother me because I know how to bother folks right on back with their same ignorance and make them feel it. But we just don't seem to have any boundaries anymore. No. I would be standing there eating a plate of food. It's not like that with me and her. I'm standing there, like, say, for example, we're over somebody's house, somebody else's house, and we have a plate of food, and they say they didn't want anything, but they walk right past you and snatch the plate of food out your hand and dip the fork in there, eat, 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 and then hand it back to you. How do you know I don't want to eat after you? And they think it's normal. Until when they took the plate the next time, I walked away and let her, you can have it. You can have it. And they were doing that to piss you off anyway. See, some people play like they're dumb to do stuff to push the boundaries to piss you off. And it's not even like that. I'm kind of venting right now. Because I hate to even see it done to other people. And some people can be so slimy, you know? So I was telling a friend of mine earlier, even when you have a circle of friends. Now, if you can have a circle of friends for many decades that you know you're beyond family. That doesn't count because you're like glue. You're solid. You know what I mean? They remember more about you than you remember about yourself. You're that close, right? But there's some people that in today's world, from what I'm seeing, that They are so nosy to try to know more about your life than what you let on to them knowing, because you may not know them as well. So when you have sets of friends, different sets of friends, you got to be careful, because they'll go behind your back to befriend this person that they know knows you to find out stuff about you. That's how it works. And even online, it's crazy. You have so many shapeshifters online that will make up new profiles of a different name and get a different face and be up under you, or act as though, you're having this budding friendship or proximity ship, and they know you already. And they know you don't want to be bothered with them. So they manufacture a new persona so they can be up under you. But like I said before, IP addresses don't change. And if you dig deep enough and you have the right hacker friends, you're looking at them like, I know exactly who you are. It's crazy how the internet has stirred up and helped to facilitate these odd entities that, if it was like it was back in the day with no internet and you had to act a certain way, you just had to act a certain way and have common courtesy, manners, and decency. But it's rare today. It's almost like anything goes, and people are forgetting. Like, I've noticed that many people are forgetting their chronological age. Now, I know age is just a number, right? Age is just a number. But there's certain things and expectations that come with a certain chronological age, especially when it comes to maturity. Now, there's no boundaries. You got women who are the age of great grandmothers forgetting that they need to carry themselves a certain way because it doesn't look right to their young great grandkids or grandchildren or any others. And they don't understand what it looks like. You see, I know when you used to have Jerry Springer on and all of these decadent shows on that showed us at our worst, that you would have a mother going after the same guy that the daughter was dating, right? And they'd argue about this on the screen. And then it got to the point where you're looking on the internet and you have grandmothers going after the same guy that the granddaughter is dating and the mother's trying him. It's crazy. What happened to the boundaries? Like, everything has been removed. It's like driving on the road. Oh, yes, I see your message. I'll say it this way, Sister J. I see your message. But, imagine how it would be if you jumped on the highway and say, for example, the speed limit was, well, you heard me. The speed limit was 75, 80 miles an hour, whatever it is, and whatever it may be, But there were no signs for the speed limit. There were no lanes, no lines to differentiate the lanes in the road. There are no stop signs. There's nothing to make sure that there's order on the road. Now, you know what would happen. I mean, we have all of the signs and things to alert you, the lines on the road, everything, and we still have people who refuse to acknowledge it. And when you take those, how can I say it? When you take it into your own hands that you're going to ignore these things, you're going to have some bad accidents. Well, it's the same way in the modern day that we're having some bad accidents. Is it because we're so dysfunctional? Well, that could be part of it. But growing up, there's certain things you just did not do. Do you think when I was younger, say I was 13 years old, 12 years old, and I even thought about picking up the phone to call a friend? See, back in those days, you had that big black telephone that sat up in the middle of the living room. and that bad boy rung so loud, and everybody had one. And then you might have the luxury of an extension into your bedroom, which was usually the parents' bedroom. The phone ring late at night, you got scared. Phone ringing 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, what happened? Did somebody die? Did somebody get... You just didn't do that. Now, I know that barrier has been removed now because we have smartphones and you can shoot a message anytime and not wake a person up. I understand that, but it's still not an excuse to go beyond the borders and boundaries of common decency. Again, what are you doing calling a woman on a video call as a man? That's so indecent. That's so improper. And if you do that, any woman accepting that when you don't really know them that way should not even talk to you. There's certain rules of this thing. You go over somebody's house, somebody that you even know, and they invite you in. And you're in the living room. You just don't plop down on the couch like that. You wait for them to tell you to sit down. Even when you know them like that. Now, as young boys, if the parents were upstairs and not around, and you're 13 years old, you go ahead and sit down. Because the other peers that are your age not thinking that way, but you show grown-ups respect. I know some people who have children who are 14, 13, right around in there, and they allow their children to be up in the conversation, interrupting the grown-ups' conversation, asking grown-up questions like, and interrupting with it. And guess what? The parents don't say anything. You're right, Diane, it still happens. It's still so foreign to me. You see what I mean? And for those who don't know, you got to teach them. And a lot of them don't want to know. Like, okay, I can't complain me being in a different country and up in the mountains where there's certain people who they just weren't raised that way. I'm not complaining, I'm not condemning, but I'll say this. Many who are here, they're not used to walls, they're not used to boundaries. And sometimes they'll get a little resentment when the land area that they grew up in, you build a house and you build a wall. It's an insult to them in their mind, even though they don't own the land. You see what I mean? And with many who are here, born and raised, right? No sense of boundary. They will walk up where your property is and whip out and take a leak and look at you right in the face. And you got to correct them. You wake up if you have no wall around your house and they're sitting down on your steps, like right up there. And they're looking at you through the window and you're looking at them. You're like, wait a second, you're on my porch. But you got to understand where it's coming from. So coming from the West, you should know better. There's no excuse. There's certain things you don't do. And I tolerate a lot. But I'm really getting pissed at those who take liberties when you don't even know me like that yet. Rude like that. I remember when we first moved out here, it was a person from the West that came over to the apartment when we were in the first apartment. And Mrs. Scurv was in the back, in the bedroom. She just took a shower. She was in the bedroom changing. So this brother came over to get some paperwork from her that was to help him with something here that she knew somebody that had wrote it up. So she was going to go down the checklist, the whole list, and agree and say, okay, we got everything done. So I let him in. And I said, she's getting dressed. She's in the bedroom. Let me call her. Homeboy was right behind me. I'm going to the bedroom. I said, hey, wait a second. Where are you going? Oh. But this guy had no idea on how to carry himself. You're not going in my bedroom with my wife and she in there naked. Would you let it just? What do you think? You see what I mean? Decency. Even me as a man, I'm not gonna barge into the next man if he says I'm in the bedroom, I'm getting dressed, and I'm coming out. I'm not trying to see what you have. And I wonder how these people feel when they get corrected. A lot of them get mad because a lot of them want to push the envelope. And there's some, I'm waiting to correct them. I can't wait because I've seen some people do some things and you cannot allow it to go on. You have to draw the line because when you don't draw the line, in their mind, there's no line. If you draw the line, they may turn around and attempt to erase or blur the line. You have to make it clear. There's another sister I know that with a particular acquaintance, not a friend, not even really an acquaintance, but someone who she had dealings with on certain, you can say, business-like levels. She preferred to communicate via email. He didn't want that. He wanted to talk over the phone. See, it's these little things that tell you about people. See, they're little red flags that you can't let slide by in the beginnings of a proximity ship. I'm making up words now, but you have a proximity to this person. It's not formed yet, and you want to establish that it moves on in a certain way. And you can tell from early that they don't want it that way. They want to smash the border down. They want to make it where it's their way. Even if you're not comfortable, they don't give a damn. And you have to smack back and draw the line. We have a lot of men out here. Yeah, there's some women who are creepy too. I understand that. But a lot of times they've been activated to be that way from the men who lie to them. But you have a lot of men now who are on these dating apps. They're online on Facebook and not so much X or Twitter for those things, but Facebook, Instagram. Those are the main culprits. TikTok too. TikTok is bad with it too, but they're shapeshifters and they lie. They don't tell the truth. They straight up lie. And they might be interested in talking to you. And they go from 0 to 60 in 0.2 seconds. But they're faceless. And it has disintegrated the natural order of things. And I know this is not the 70s or the 80s. That's gone. But I remember if you were a man and you were interested in a young lady, it was usually that you knew of her from a mutual friend or in school, where you knew somebody who knew her or you kept seeing her. And there was a commonality where you were going to the same school. You had a school dance, you had a school game, you had a friend that had another friend that knew them, and you wanted to meet her. You liked her. And it wasn't brazen where even back in the day, elementary school, even middle school, junior high school, if you like somebody, you might pass them a love note in a very innocent way. My name is so and so, and I like you. If you like me too, and I can talk to you, check the box for yes. If you don't, check the box for no. At least you gave me the option. But at least you couldn't hide behind the avatar. You had to talk. And you would blow your chances if you didn't have manners and respect. Because that was the order of the day. And you're right, Diane, not everyone is taught values and morals. I mean, I know how to act wild. Why should I? I know that language. I wasn't brought up in that language, but I know it because sometimes I'm in an environment where that's the only language that they know. When I work with the incarcerated, I had to know them street languages, which we all know curse words, but we have to be convincing with it when we use it in the environment where that's all they know. I'm not proud of that skill that I developed because my vocabulary is vast enough where I don't need to use such low vibrational words. But there's some people that's all they understand. You try to speak to them in a decent way and they don't hear you. And there's certain ways you have to say those words too. I call it conjugating curses, and I'm not proud of that. But I quickly learned that everybody is not on the same level. And when you do talk to people who are on a higher level, they will truly appreciate you and how you express yourself. They will truly appreciate you and how you carry yourself. Even when you think they're not watching, they know you're different. And it stands out. And the brutes out there who have no manners and no upbringing, a lot of them just don't like it. Who do you think you are? See, you can have one pair of pants, one shirt, one pair of shoes that has a slight hole in it. But if you carry yourself with decency, manners, and respect, it doesn't matter that your wardrobe is extremely limited. You keep it clean, you keep yourself groomed, you're respectful of people until they disrespect you. Now you got to change up on them. But for the most part, you're a plus to the decent people that see what your pedigree is. And many people don't understand that. Many people feel that they have to act like the lowest of the low. You will be resented when you have class by the classless. They will do things to try to bring you down and bring your behavior down to their level, which is a sub-level. It's a below level. Many of us would feel better about ourselves if we would upgrade how we saw ourselves and upgrade how we carry ourselves. Because when you are respectful, it doesn't mean that you're weak. You are a pleasure to be around when you're mannerable. Even if you don't say, yes, ma'am, yes, yes, sir. But your demeanor and however you express yourself will get you places. And that's what a lot of these fools, young and old, do not understand. They have no clue. Oh, he don't like me. No, you stepping on toes. You don't understand common courtesy. Like I said, it's like seeing a red light. You mash the gas and just go on through and get mad at the person who had the right of way. No, it doesn't work that way. You show up to a person's house unannounced. That's the ultimate sin. Were you invited? Knocking on somebody's door early in the morning or late at night, and it's not like that with you. There are people like, for me, these very things that I'm saying, it didn't bother me with my true inner circle because I've had people that are close to me that I'm fast asleep and they come by my window. You know, when I was growing up and I had my room when I was in the basement, and they'd walk down to the side and tap on the window. I'd let them in. You know, and my upbringing was a lot different because the people that were around me were very much mannerable and we had community. It may not be like that in New York City anymore, but we did have a sense of community. That no matter who you were, when you saw a woman drive her car up in the driveway as she's taking out the groceries, as a kid, you better offer to help, right? Because you're gonna hear about it. You know, your son walked past me and didn't even offer to help me with the groceries. But see, these days you can't even say that because that kid that walked by and didn't offer to help with the groceries, they mama might cuss you out. Well, that ain't your job, damn it. See, because they don't understand that we have to cultivate this across the community. We have so many Black people that talk about building a sense of community, but they forget about the building blocks of respect, common courtesy, proper manners. That makes it a joy. When you deal with somebody who is highly mannerable, it makes you want to do more for them in whichever way. You see what I mean? But they don't understand that, especially these takers. Well, if you're going to take, you better know how to give some respect. And you better not come that way. You show up at somebody's house, even when they're expecting you. You come with something. I mean, if you're regularly going there, you're some young kid or whatever, I understand that. But if there's a function, even if it's some function at somebody's home where they're cooking whatever, you bring something. You might not, unless it's a cookout now, but if they're cooking a meal in their house and they prepared it, well, bring some juice, bring something to drink, bring something. Even if you half broke, bring something. Add to the pot. Folks come over and they eat and they leave. No, grab a broom and help to sweep. Go and help to offer, if they don't have a dishwasher, to wash the dishes. They prepared the meal all day long and you sat there and ate. They tired, now you left a mess and you leaving? Now, if you're elderly, go ahead and get your rest. But if you're young and you're upright and you're strong, say, listen, ma'am, you invited me and you made this wonderful meal. Just sit down for a second and let us take time to straighten up as much as we can. I know nobody can do it like you, and you're probably going to go and touch up after, but let's get the bulk of it done. Let's get the garbage out. Let's get the garbage together. Clean and wipe down the counters. Clean the dishes, put them in place. Check with her though. Does this go here? Okay, no problem. Let them sit there and watch you. Direct me. I'm going to do this for you because I know you're tired. But we don't think about those things anymore, and then we wonder why we're not invited anymore. You see what I mean? So we need to get back into the art of that so we can enjoy each other's company. They're families that I grew up with in the neighborhood. They love to have me over. They only had good words to say about me. You know, he's always welcome here. He's mannerable. He's helpful. I'm not bragging. That's not me. That was my parents that put that inside of me. And they would not hear of anything otherwise. And I wouldn't want them to hear of anything otherwise. I remember I had to be about, let me see, I think about 8 or 9 years old. And we were in the backyard of a friend of mine. They moved in about a year or two earlier, and they lived across the street. So anytime I was on the block and never left the block, I let my folks know I'm over so-and-so's house, and it was okay. And they would always say, find out from them if it's okay if you can be over there. And I would always ask, and when I start to ask, you know, Lance, it's okay going back there in the backyard and play. So we're throwing this ball around. And I threw the ball up high because we were playing catch. We were throwing it up higher and higher. And it slipped out my hand a certain way and didn't go as high as I want, but it went forward and through the window. They got scared. The children of that household got scared and ran to the front and ran inside. And when the parents came, I didn't run. I stood there and I said, I apologize. It was me who did it. I'm going to go and talk to my parents so they can fix your window. And that's what they did. And they still like for me to come over to the house. And I felt bad. But I had to take accountability for the mistake that I did. I wouldn't run. That's integrity. But again, when you get older and you deal with people who don't have integrity, sometimes you got to play by the rules that they play by. Like, for example, see, you in a boxing ring and you're fighting the next fighter. And there are rules to boxing. And there's certain things you're not supposed to do. No rabbit punches, no punches behind the head, right? No low blows. Why would you hit a man between the legs in a boxing match, right? Even if they take a point away for you doing that, the effect is still there because you weaken him because you hit him in his private parts. And let me tell you something, that hurts. Even if somebody slapped you there softly, that hurts. So you got a fighter who keeps doing this. And you trying to be Mr. Goody Two Shoes and play by the rules. Wait a second now, you're weakening me now. I may not be so strong coming down the stretch with the fight. So you know what? You didn't listen to the referee. He keeps warning you about this. So the next time you hit me, I'm hitting you right back 3 times as hard. Doesn't mean you're a dirty fighter, but now you're in a dirty situation. And I want you to know you don't have to feel bad at all when you find yourself in a place where there are no rules, in a dirty situation, and you got to play by the rules of the environment that you're in. You see what I mean? That's right, Jay Davis. That's right. The society has unfortunately lost the value of common respect. And our communities, if we still have a semblance of communities, don't realize that this is the thread that holds it together. And we're supposed to cover for each other. We got the mentality where, oh, I got mine, you got to get yours. So many people are riding out and not seeing themselves as part of a whole. And if one of us is not well, we're supposed to help. We're supposed to guide. And the person's supposed to take that guidance. You know, I have my dear sister who I call Customato. And I have a term that I use with her because we have that kind of relationship and proximity. And I'm going to tell you what it sounds like. She will applaud me when I do well. She will guide me with certain things because in her area of expertise, she is at the highest level. And somehow, some way, you know who she is on that level. But I cannot say her name. So when we're deep in conversation and I've opened up on a personal level, and if she feels something is not right, the term I say, boy, you got up in my ass tonight. And in the beginning of our friendship and closeness, she would say, well, you know, maybe that's a place I don't need to go. I said, no, listen, you're so wise and full of wisdom that I submit and accept everything you say, and I need that from you. So please, and I tell her, I said, well, if somebody is listening to this and sound biting it, they're going to make it sound like something gay, but it's a term we use. I said, please get up in my ass. And I don't mean it the homo way, so don't sound bite this with my voice. Right? So she can do that because her wisdom is so deep that it makes me better as a person. And so I don't have to second guess what comes out of her mouth when it comes toward her guidance of my life. And we support each other. And we can open up with each other. Why can't we have more relationships like that? Why? And another thing, this is on topic because it's about common courtesy and respect and proper manners. But fellas, every woman you have a proximity to doesn't mean you have to try to get sexual with her. What happened to the decency there? I remember guys would have a crush on a woman, and if the woman was taken, like after he had the crush, she was single and he had the crush, and then she was taken, he would back off. Oh, no, 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 no. No, you taken already. Now they don't care. Now the guys find out you're in a relationship. It could be a marriage. It could be a relationship where there's no marriage. Or are you happy in it? So now you're not taking that as off limits. You're trying to find a way around it. Just to get sex. Like, why is it that you have to screw everybody? And then you get rid of them like a snotty rag. You don't have to do that. You know, one of the greatest feelings as a man to a woman is when you can show her righteous love that doesn't involve that. Down through the years, I've known many women who are drop dead gorgeous, bodies on them, faces on them. And they're dudes that I know because I can say from the youngest days when I couldn't say no to a woman, and many men thought that I had a high body count, which unfortunately I guess I did. But it wasn't because of any aggression to run through women. It was because I was a conversationalist and it came to me. I would never try certain people. We just talking and talking and talking and talking, and we get relaxed and things happen. And I didn't have any restraint. I admit that. But they're running in head first with that only thing in their mind, right? And so they were mad because they really didn't get anywhere. I wasn't paying that no mind. I talked to a brother just as intense as I would a sister. I'm a straight man, but what I'm saying is that the intellect, the conversation, the exchange of ideas and perspectives, I was always that way. But why is it that you have to bring it down to that common denominator of, well, I'm only doing it? And they'll never tell you that. They'll go back and tell their buddies that, because they'll be like, man, how far as you get? Like if we could remove that and rewire and redirect our sexual energy, if you're dealing with somebody, you deal with them. If you're between relationships, then maybe that's a time for you to heal. Maybe that's a time for you to be alone. Maybe that's a time for you to learn yourself, to make yourself better. But you jumping from one to the other, you're not making yourself better, and you don't even know yourself anymore. And you have no value in the eyes of that woman or women after they figure you out. Because they know that's as far as they can go. And there's some who are down with that. But men are violators lots of times. They want to have something that they can't have or not supposed to have or doesn't belong to them. It's a challenge. It's like a lock where everybody forgot the combination. Well, you forgot the combination. I'm going to stay on this lock and keep trying until I unlock the lock and find myself in heaven's gates. And then after that, then what? At least, and I'm going to say it this way, have the common courtesy to state what it is that you want in a way that's not disrespectful. Just say it. Say it if you're not interested in a relationship of emotions. Don't come out lewd and say, I just want to go and bend you over. Don't say that, but just say, hey, listen, I'm attracted to you. And I'm looking at you and I am aroused. I'm just letting you know. She may not like to hear that, but guess what? She'll respect that more than if you lied to her to tell her that you loved her and wanted to build with her and you wanted to be with her when all you wanted is a little friction. She'd appreciate that more because you saved her the worry and you gave her the choice. She might be down for that too. Now, if you're an adult, that's your business on how that turns out. But we need to be more transparent and stop with this slick stuff, this underhanded stuff. You want something, even if it's something material out of a person, and you trying to be sly about it. You talk about you want A, but you really want C. You want T, but you're saying that you wanted V. I'm just playing around with letters. Be straight up in a decent way, in a respectable way. And you'll have no problem down the line, especially in that when you carry yourself in a respectable manner. I remember from my youngest days, like I said, I was born in Manhattan and raised in Queens. But I had the two neighborhoods of where I was born because my father's shop was right in the same block where we lived for the first 5 years of my life, 5.5 years of my life. So in the summertime, when school was out, or the weekend when school was out, I'd either go with my mother to her rehearsals when she was singing, or I'd go with my father. I like both, right? But I got a little extra thrill out of going with my father because I was in the street. Not that we were in the street, he was working, but we had different job sites, and it was very exciting for me. So I met kids in different neighborhoods because, kids see a different kid. And I'm young, but I'm coming with my father. I'm with him. I'm helping him out. He give me a little cash. A lot of times I sit on those front steps and there's kids in the block, and I bring a few comic books in the van, and we stare at each other for a while, and all of a sudden we playing. We were really young. So I had both. But what I could remember is even in the street, because my father taught me what the deal was in life, there was a certain level of decency. Look, I saw the church ladies come out of church, whether it was Sunday or the Wednesday evening service, and they would go right to the numbers spot that doubled as a restaurant. They went to play their numbers. It was discreet. And even the numbers runner, a guy named Johnny, who I watched get shot to death a few feet away from me when them two cars pulled up, very traumatic for me. I was standing right there. My father reached out and pulled me back in, but they killed him. And I'll never forget the way his head hit the pavement when they shot him up. I was frozen. But even when those women would come in to play their numbers, and they'd go in the back and play their numbers, it was a real restaurant, he was always treating them with respect. And those church women, even though they were doing something that maybe the church wouldn't approve of, going and gambling and playing the numbers, but I look at that as something mild, he showed them respect. Good evening, Miss So-and-so. How are you doing? Whatever. You would never know that transaction was going on. There were women whose skirts were a little too short, and they would see the church ladies and speak to them with respect. But you know what their hustle was? They were making money with their body. But they would never curse around those old church ladies or anybody. We knew, and I'm saying we like I'm down with all of that. I'm just saying, but I had the feeling that they knew. Some of the old men would come by me. Hey, I'm telling you, talking to my father, he gonna be a champ in something, and they shadow box with me. And I'd be out there shadow boxing 6 or 7 years. You know what kind of feel that gives to you when you're young, when you feel like you're a part of a community and you see the respect amongst the people and the love amongst the people, how strong you are at the root? And so that's why I'm saying these things that I'm saying now. Because I don't see much roots anymore. I don't see much order anymore in the decency. There'd be a funeral for somebody in the neighborhood. And that wino, who was a little funky sometime and changed his clothes every 3 days, he'd make an attempt. He'd ask around for a little money, and it wasn't for liquor, and he'd go down to the thrift shop and buy a suit. The suit didn't even fit right, weird colors, but he made sure to shave his face, get clean. He might have had mismatched socks, but he walked down that aisle to that casket and paid his respects in front of everybody. And everybody showed love to that man because he came out of his addiction to show respect, which in essence was showing respect to the community, even though he had his issues. What happened to that? Now we step on each other's toes when we can't have our way to manipulate them. See, everything evens out when you show respect and have common courtesy and carry yourself a certain way. You'll get covered because people observe you. You could be short at the register in the supermarket, and somebody will look over and say, how much is it? Oh, it's $26. Go on and ring it up. And I've done that for people in other things. It's not always about money. It could be a good word, a listening ear. But we all have more resources than we know. The human element, the human spirit. And lots of times we have people who are so presently narcissistic that they wish you bad because you don't bow down, because they're supposed to be in control. And you better bow down to me. And they're not going to say that, but pretty much that's what it is. I'm going to cut you off because you don't want to do things my way. I'm the one over this. And that's why the whole group thing concept is bad, because you're giving up your individual rights to be independent and explore and develop yourself. So no matter how much a person has a certain position in your life, doesn't mean they have to rule it. They should have the decency to let you be yourself. But there's also certain things you just don't do. And I've spoken on this before. As a man, if I was a single man and I have a friend, a male friend, and he has some gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous sisters, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go after his sisters. Maybe some guys say, well, you can. Well, that's your set of rules, but I don't want him thinking that I'm around him just to get at them. And that changes the whole dynamic. There's enough women out there that if I wanted to choose one, if I was a single man, I don't have to mess with that delicate balance of friendship and proximity of your sister. What brother wants to know, oh, he's my friend, but he's eyeballing my sister. He can't pull his eyes off of her, and he's looking at her in an indecent way. Now, if you were respectable and you let him know, listen, I'm interested in courting your sister, and he knows you're a decent man, and you're courting her, you're dating, you're courting, you're engaged to get married, then I could see it. But if you some little guys trying to screw everything in town and now you want to come and date my sister, I know what you want to do with her. Nah, it ain't working that way. I don't want to be around you. That's creepy. And there's too many people with some creepy stuff going on in their mind. Another thing I couldn't do is if you were my friend and you were dating somebody and y'all broke up. I can't go back after somebody, well, y'all broke up now. I want to see you because I was checking you out when you was going out with my friend, and he's going to feel funny now. I'm considerate of people's feelings that way. Some people are not like that. I know a lot of dirt, and you got some grimy people that do some low down, dirty things on that level. On that level. You got family members, man. There's some guys, they got family blood. And they plotting to take that family member's woman, wife, and did it. And present themselves so decent out to the world. What kind of mess is that? There's some things I wish I can talk about, but I'm not going to do it because it's going to come out one day soon. It's already out there, right? You wouldn't believe the things that have been revealed to me and the things that I see. Because see, I'm not dumb. I may not have, I'm not God. I can't read minds. But I'm slick and I see things and I play dumb oftentimes like I don't see it. Let them get comfortable in the decadence that they're doing. It's none of my business anyway. But don't think I don't see everything. I'm like that cat that lets the mice walk around. Mice walk around and, oh, the cat ain't gonna do nothing. The mice will be up on top of the cat's head. You know, we can hang out and do everything until that cat goes in front of the mouse hole and goes on a rampage. You see? And then you have to be able to see and don't see in certain situations, as long as you're not bringing harm to somebody. I see a lot of things, and it's not for me to speak on. But if you hurting old ladies or molesting children, I'm not just going to speak on it. I'm going to jump in there. And you're going to wish the cops caught you first, because I'm going to hurt you badly. And that's not tough talk. That's decent talk. Because, see, we have men that are punks and pansies, and they'll let things happen on their watch. Certain things I can't allow to have happen on my watch. And I say it like a police officer. I may have been working in the jail in law enforcement, but I don't bring that stuff into the street, because even if I never worked in those capacities, it's my duty and my job to be that standard that will enforce it. And if we had more of that in the Black community, instead of these guys who are just, everything is pleasure oriented, especially if we carried ourselves, whether you agree with them or not, like the fruit of Islam. Upright, no nonsense, decent, understanding, but will hurt you if you get out of line. Not because of their ego, but they're going to stand on the square of decency. Imagine how that would be. Our sisters can walk freely and feel safely, but if every man had that sense of community and upholding that value, decency, courtesy, respect, right? That's the way it should be. I remember I was driving down the street in my neighborhood in Queens, and a dog ran out on the road, and I tried to swerve a little bit because there were parked cars on both sides of me. And my car ended up knocking off the driver's side mirror. So I pulled on over. I mean, I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't going to just drive off. I pulled over. I wrote a little note, gave my number, all of that, and put it there in the window, and another one under the windshield wiper. So one blew off, you had another one. I didn't want anybody to say, oh, he drove off and we got his plate number and all this stuff. No, I wasn't going to do it. It ended up being the car of a retired man who was doing really good for himself. I didn't know him, so a few blocks away, but he had properties and he had this and he had that. I found that out. Because when I came back around, he wasn't home. He didn't call me, but he wasn't home. And people I knew said, oh man, that guy's loaded, man. You ain't got to pay him back. I said, no, man, I got to do it. And when I finally met up with him, he was so impressed that I came back, wrote the notes, gave my number. I even put my address. He was saying, no, the fact that you did that when many other people wouldn't do it, listen, God bless me over and above. Brother, you don't owe me anything. I said, come on, please. You know, I'm begging him. You know what I mean? And it wasn't because he had money, but it was the principle. But the fact that he did have money, I think it helped a little bit, because he was down and out and poor and couldn't fix it. He would have took it. But it was the principle of things. And that's another thing, that a lot of people, okay, we know this world is dirty. Business can be dirty. But you have some men who have accrued a certain amount of wealth that live on principle, the principle of hard work, the principle of sacrifice, the principle of delaying gratification, but also of decency. And those are the people that can get the real wealth that stays. Not that flash in the pan, I'm going to cheat you, I'm going to wheel and deal, and I'll have it for a while, and then I lose it because of my bad practices. Again, common courtesy. You see what I mean? The Wolf Master, welcome on in. And I see you there, Landon Price. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse. And I'm going to sign off in a few, but I just wanted to get this one in. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 more. I will go out, so it may not be as early. But this is something that I had to talk about. And I still want to talk about this at another time on a deeper level. But imagine how wonderful the world would be if we all checked ourselves. I'm not saying we all, like, if somebody here, I'm trying to throw off on, I'm not. But just that standard was raised up a bit. And there was an expectation of decency and certain behaviors, certain things you don't do. You're willing to help. Even if it's to help an older woman to her car. She's at the supermarket and you want to help her to load her stuff into the trunk. Lift the things that are heavy. Be of service to your people. Give of yourself. So many of us want to show out when we go to the church and give a lot of money to the pastor, and we want to be seen. You know, oh, Sister so-and-so blessed us this week. And the pastor trying to shame everybody else to give more money. The 18 times they pass around the offering plate. Folks show up to the service late thinking they avoided it, but they got 6 more times on the plate to be in their face. Why do they do that? You know? Secret motivations and hidden agendas. When you have a new energy around you, you have to vet them. You have to question what they're all about. It's not paranoia. It's the world we live in. Because if they carried themselves with a predictable dignity and decency, you already know that it's only going to go but so far if they step out of line. Because they're on code. See? Yeah. Rude people that expect that you're supposed to take this, Wolfmaster. No. And I love correcting people, even if the situation doesn't involve me. Young man, get back in line. You can't. They were in line first. Get back in line. You can't do that. Well, I only got one thing. Well, you're supposed to ask. That's what I miss. I'm the older guy now. But what I miss is the older guy who policed his community. I mean, he wasn't like a bully. But when you were around, you better act decent to the elders, or even if you were an elder, he gonna correct you. Say, hey man, you too old for that. Why are you looking at that young girl? You know whose daughter that is? They in the barbershop. You can't say it about her. We know she's an attractive young lady, but you old, man. What you talking like that for? Right? I mean, I see some beautiful female forms out here. I'm a man. Even if I wasn't married, I would not try to run up on everybody or with that kind of thing. They see me as an older guy and I'm going to carry myself that way. I received some of the biggest compliments the other day when I was up in the village in my favorite little spot that makes the food that I like. One of the cooks there, she has a little old man crush on me, right? I can tell. And it's not going to go no further than that. But there was another young lady who knows me real good. And they were speaking in their language. And she was like, how is he? I'm scared of him because I know that a lot of Americans, they carry guns and stuff. And the other girl was like, he's not like that. He's real decent. He's never treated me. And the one who was telling her that looked better than her. She said, I've been in situations where I know I can trust him. And she was like, really? Wow. Because she gets hit on all the time. And I would give her proper compliments, but nothing over the top. And I would treat her in a decent way. I remember her saying that, oh God, I haven't had a piece of chocolate in a long time. And the chocolate over there is so expensive, whatever. It was expensive for her. I'm not a rich man, but I had some extra bills in my pocket. And while she made the food, I went over there and got a nice big fat candy bar and I gave it to her. Her eyes lit up. You see what I mean? Thank you, Wolf Master. Much love and appreciation. Much love and appreciation. I thank you for that. And there's so many ways that we can share our energy. And that's why when somebody gives of themselves, large or small, it's a responsibility when you receive. And I was speaking about that earlier with someone, and she told me, she says, well, and she does, and that's my friend I call Customato. She said, when I do something for somebody, it's because God, it's God working through me. It's not me, it's God. And I wasn't trying to soup her up, but what I told her, I said, listen, and I'm saying God is a verbal shorthand. We can say creator, some people say Yahweh, some people say this, say that. I say that just to say what most people, even whatever interpretation they have, the supreme force. People will jump you if you say certain things, right? But I said, you have to still take credit for it. She says, oh, no, 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 no. It's God. I say, yeah, I know it's God, but a lot of people disobey God. You see somebody drop their wallet full of money in the street, and you have a good heart to do the right thing. But what if you didn't? And God inspires you to walk behind the person and hand them back that wallet with the money in it. And you can also say, you know what? I'm going to take that money. I ain't giving the wallet back. You were supposed to be the vessel to execute the goodness from the Creator, and you stopped it because of your own greed. So you still have to be given credit for the good that you allow to flow through you from the Creator. Electricity is powerful, but there's a wire that carries the current into your house so you can use it. It's part of the equation. Electricity is mightier than the wires that carries it. But because we have electricians that know how to temper the flow of electricity so it doesn't burn your house down, you got to give credit to the wire too for allowing that flow to come in, right? It's just amazing how the world is so different. The vibration has been reduced, but at the same time, it's a joy that when we connect with people who understand the decency and respect and how it goes. I have friends of mine who I've known them for so long and we've never had an argument, never had a disagreement, because we wouldn't move forward with anything that's not proper. And if we did have some kind of issue, we would verbalize it and we would still be friends. It's amazing that you know somebody before you were even a teenager. And now all of us are in our 60s, and some of them are in their 70s, and some a little younger. And we still hold that same proximity of respect to each other. And I think it's a beautiful thing. See? I'm seeing what you said, Wolfman. You said crazy people makes me more of a hermit. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. You got to protect your peace at all time. I always speak about that. I think about that all the time, right? Protect your peace. It doesn't mean you have to be aggressive with these people. You can just back up and be the hermit, be the introvert. And the people full of chaos, they don't like that. Because some people, they don't have any boundaries and they thrive on chaos. They want to get up in your life, get up in your business, to break it down, to have stuff to talk about, to bring chaos for their entertainment and their low-minded, low-vibrational self. And respect, decency, common sense, manners, all of that contain that stuff away. And they don't like that. That's why they have to break the rules so they can get that rush. But it's a destructive spirit, that gossip spirit. I shut them down. Now listen, if there's something you need to tell me, tell me. Something important, tell me. If there's some suspicious car driving up and down the block and it slows down in front of my house and it's suspicious, let me know. If you overhear somebody talking about they're going to break into my house, let me know. That's not gossip. You see what I mean? If there's somebody's plotting to violate one of my children, let me know. That's not gossip. But I don't care if that sister was parked up in the driveway of the pastor. Who knows? It's none of my business. I'll make a note of it, put it on the shelf and forget about it. I may need to pull it down off the shelf in the future, right? The pastor was found poisoned. Then she's a suspect. But we put too much into our brain now. We're the people, these people are abrasive and you don't have to deal with that weight. You don't. Push it away. If they can't treat you fairly and with respect, they don't need to be in your life. No way. But listen, y'all, I'm gonna wind down right now. It's 1:41, West Africa, Ghana time. And I like doing these on the phone and late at night. Sometime I'm laying down because if I was in the studio with the lights and everything like that, it might make me a little more tired. But I'm still with some energy, but I want to have a smooth landing into the world of slumber. I'm gonna rest my voice a little bit and we'll be with it when I wake up again. I want to put out some stuff tomorrow. I got a lot of things on my mind that I see. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you all and the vibration, the feedback, and all of that stuff. It brings me a great amount of joy. You know, I come from a different era, and you all understand because many of you come from that same era. And if you're a little younger than you remember that era. And we still like to have fun. Sometimes I do tell off-color jokes in a funny way. I'm a comedian. You know what I mean? We got to laugh sometimes. We got to be serious sometimes. Sometimes you got to let things go, you know? But there's so many different levels to this life that we have to commandeer. It's like a dashboard on your car. It's not just one gauge. You got to look at several gauges and listen out for certain noises and feedback from the vehicle. And that's the way we have to navigate life. Sometimes you're not feeling so well. Why is it that you're not? Maybe, like I said in the video earlier, a little short 10, 15-minute thing, that you're trying to save everybody, but you're depleting yourself. It's okay to save yourself. It's okay for you to be topped off in your energy. And lots of times when you're saving somebody, not everybody, but some people make a habit of it because they know that you're there to catch them. And so you're creating a monster in these people. They take risk in their life, or they're not as responsible because they know that you got their back. You see what I mean? I'm about to start up another one. Let me let me sign off, y'all. And just know that I appreciate you all. And like I said, I'm very blessed to have you all in my life. And I love what we do. So anyway, LanceScurv out. Just like Diane always knows I say it. On to the next one. Much love to you all. Thank you for being here. We'll be back later on tomorrow. Peace.